not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8. And the above here, that's not 9. So, page 103, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'chlefi v'nei Elohim ben yom v'ben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzamaho. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam abisharumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam atirasurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sokif kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rakar tzalamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam amechim mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasali kol tzorkihi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozei Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam otei Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layayev koach. Udnenu aham v'choyom l'chenu chesed orachamim beinecha v'nei koreinu v'tigmalenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim l'amo Yisrael. Lefikach אנחנו חייבים להודות לך. אשרינו מה טוב חלקנו מה נעים גורלנו מה יפה רשתנו. אשרינו שאנחנו משכימים ומעריבים ערב ובוקר ואומרים פעמיים בכל יום שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כל המלכות ולעולם. קדש את שמך ומקדשי שמך וקדש את שמך בעולמך. תשועתך תרים ותגביר קרננו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש את שמך ברבים. Service continues on page 112. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh. ודונובים בסבב דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורייה ולא הבלעת בו. $120. מזמור שיר חנוכת הבית לדוד. הפכת מספידי למחולי, פיתחת שקי ותזרני שמחה, למען ישמרך כבוד לא יתום, אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודך. Warner's Kaddish, page 121. יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יפרח וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עשה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen. We rise 122. Baruch shehamar v'haya haolam, Baruch hu, Baruch oseh v'reshi, Baruch omer v'oseh, Baruch ozer umekayehim, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch mishalem sachar tov l're'ah, Baruch halad v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch bodeh u'matzil, Baruch shemoho, Baruch etav al-mechalam. Yachi keolamim melech meshubachim frei adei ad shemo hagadol baruch atah Adonai melech mehulav tishbacho. We are seated. 123. Hodu l'Adonai kiru b'shmo. He called Elohei Amim Elilim v'Adonai Shamayim Asah Od v'Hadar Lefanav. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu l'har kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu v'hu mechaper. Adonai tzvot asher adam boteach b'hach Adonai shemalchi anenu v'yom korenu hoshia et amecha v'arech et nachlatecha. ואני בחסדך בטחתי, יגל ליבי בישועתך, אשר לאדוני כי גמל עליי. Service continues, page 130. יושב בסתר עליון, בצל שדי יתלונן. יקרא אין היא, עיניהו עמו אנוכי בצרה, הצניני והכבדהו, אורך ימי אספיהו, ויראהו בשועתי, אורך ימינו אספיהו, ויראהו בשועתי. הללויה, הללויה את שם אדוני, הללויה עבדי אדוני. בית ישראל ברכו את אדוני, בית אהרון ברכו אדוני, בית הלוי ברכו את אדוני, יראי אדוני ברכו את אדוני, ברוך אדוני מציון, שוכן ירושלים, hallelujah. We rise 132. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. נותן לחם לכל בשר כי לעולם חסדו, הודו לאל השמיים כי לעולם חסדו. We are seated 133. רננו צדיקים באדוני, לשרים לתהילה. נפשנו חיכתה לאדוני, עזרנו מגין עמהו, כי בו ישמח ליבנו כי בשם קודשו בטחנו, יחסדך אדוני על פנינו כאשר יכנו לך, מזמור שיר ליום השבת ולהודות לאדוני. הודנו בסבע דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עבלת בו, אדוני. בדעותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נאווה קודש, אדוני לאורך ימים, יקבוד אדוני לעולם. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית, וירבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו. בנה שמלך יעננו ויום קראנו, אשרי יושבי ביתך, הודו לך סלם. תהילת אדוני דבר פיו ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד, ואנחנו נברך ימי את הוויית עולם, הללויה. הללויה, הללי נפשי את אדוני. אדוני שומר הגרים, יתום ואלמנה יודד בדרך רשעים יאבד, ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. Hallelujah. 138. Hallelujah. כי טוב זמרה אלוהים. להגיד דבריו יעקב, חוקיו ומשפטיו לישראל, לא עשה כן לכל גוי, משפטים בל ידעום. הללויה, הללויה. המרומים. Vayaram Karen Lamoti Lalo Hasidav Livnei Yisrael Am Kirofo Hallelujah Hallelujah Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Tilato Bikaha Chasidim. L'asor malchechem b'zikim v'nich b'deihem b'chav lehe barzel לעשות בהם משמע כתוב, הדר הוא לכל חסידיו, הללויה, הללויה, הללויה פקדשו, הללו ברכיה וזו. כל הנשמה תהלליה, הללויה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, הללויה, ברוך אדוני לעולם אמן ואמן, ברוך אדוני מציון שוכן ירושלים, הללויה, ברוך אדוני אלוהים, אלוהי ישראל, עושה נפלאות לבדו, ברוך שם כבודו לעולם, ימלא כבודו את כל הארץ, אמן ואמן. Today the service will now continue on page 145. נשמת כל חי, תברך את שמך אדוני אלוהינו, וברוך הבשר תפארת שמך. אנחנו מספיקים, להודות לך, להודות לך, להודות מדינתנו. והננו ממצרים ואתנו אדוני, אלוהינו בית עבדים בדיתנו. עד הנה עזבנו רחמך ולא עזבנו חסדך ולא תיתנו אדוני אלוהינו לנצח. נהלך שבך נפארך נברך את שם קודשך כאמור לדוד ברכי נפשי את אדוני וכל קרבי את שם קודשו 147 האל בתעצומות עוזך הגדול בכבוד שמך הגיבור לנצח ונורא בנורותיך המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא. Service continues on the 6th line of page 147.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו. בפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל, לקלס, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברה קירותי וימלך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. Baruch Adonai Mavorach Leolam Ba'ed.
You may be seated. Service continues 1:50.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvarei Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvarei Et HaKol HaKol Yoducha VeHaKol Yishabachucha VeHaKol. Ein kerach Adonai Eloheinu ba'olam hazeh, ve'ein zulatcha malkeinu l'chayei ha'olam haba. Efes piltecha go'aleinu limot ha'mashiach, ve'ein domeh lecha, moshienu litchiyat ha'metim.
151.
El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch u'mvorach v'fi kol neshama gadlo v'tuvo malei olam da'at u'tvuna sovavim oto ha'mikael chayot ha'kodesh v'nehedar b'chavod al ha'merkava zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei chevodo, tovim miorot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram b'da'at b'bina u'paskel koach u'gvura natan bahem liot moshlim b'kerev tevel meleim ziv umfikim nokha na'ezivam b'chol ha'olam samechim b'tzetam v'sasim bevoam osim b'yem ha'retzon konam pe'er v'chavod notnim lishmo tzala v'rina lezecher malchuto kara l'shemesh v'yizrach ora'a v'hitkin tzurat halvana shebach notnim lo kol tzeva marom Tiferet u'gedula srafim v'ofanim v'chayot hakodesh la'el asher shavat mikol ha'ma'asim. Titbarach Mosheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha v'al me'orei or sha'asita yivarechucha selah. Titbarach tzureinu malkeinu v'go'aleinu. Kulam ahuvim, kulam burim, kulam giborim v'chulam osim, ve'emal v'yararetzon konam, v'chulam potchim et pihem b'kedusha v'tahara, v'shira v'zimra, u'mevarchim u'meshabchim, u'mefa'arim u'ma'aritzim, u'makdishim u'ma'amlechim, et shem ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol. Lahatish le'yotram benachat ruach, b'safav rurav ni'ima kedosha, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים וחיות הקודש, ברעש גדול מתנסים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, לאל ברוך נעימות ייתנו לנו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, 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 ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. אהבה רבה אהבתנו אדוני אלוהינו, חמלה גדולה ויתרה חמלת עלינו. אבינו מלכנו בעבור אבותינו שבטחו בך אבינו מלכנו, ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו תלמדנו, אבינו האב הרחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות. ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבנו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד. ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קדשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועת אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלה, באמת להודות לך, וליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Love for you.
We continue silently, 156.
Adonai Elohechem emet, v'yatziv v'nachon v'kayam v'yashar. L'dor v'dor kayam u'shmo kayam, v'chiso nachon, u'malchuto ve'emunato la'ad kayamet, u'dvarav chayim v'kayamim. Emet shata Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Malkeinu Melech Avotenu, Goalenu Goel Avotenu, Yotzreinu Tzur Yeshuatenu, Podenu Matzilenu Me'olam Shemecha, Ein Elohim Zulatecha, Ezrat Avotenu Atau Me'olam.
As we are continuing silently on page 158, Eileen will pick up the chant in the middle of the page. We'll be standing for the final 3 lines, then heading directly into the silent Amidah. So at the bottom of page 158, you will continue directly 159 and forward. We're more or less back to normal. As a normal Amidah, I don't have to tell you all the insertions, but do remember that the rain has begun to fall. So Mashiv Haruach and we'll read Hakasha.
Tehilot Le'Elyon Baruch Hu Mevorach Moshe uMiriam b'nei Yisrael lecha anu shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot osef eleh שירה חדשה, שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובטחנו ממך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני בעל ישראל.
For those still davening, please continue. As the rest of us begin the repetition on 159, please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot, U'Mevi Goel Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo b'Ahava. Melech Ozer Poked Moshiach Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Abraham Ufoked Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye Metim Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid Hashem Mechakel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah lahachayot metim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye hametim. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem shemakdishim oto bishmei marom Kakatuv bayad neviecha V'kara zel ze ve'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Meloch ol haaretz kevodo. Az b'kol ra'ash gadol adir v'chazak mashmi'im kol, mitnasim li'umatzrafim, le'umatam, Baruch yomeru, Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Mimkomacha malkeinu tofia v'timloch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach matai timloch b'tzion b'karov b'yameinu le'olam va'ed tishkon titkadal v'titkadash b'toch Yerushalayim ircha ledor vador ulenetzach netzachim v'eineinu tirena tirena malchutecha kadavar ha'amor b'shirei uzecha v'einenu tirena tirena malchutecha kadavar ha'amor b'shirei uzecha al yedei David Mashiach tzidkecha yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohayich Tzion ledor vador hallelujah Ledor vador nagi godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, ki el melech gadol v'kadosh atah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We may be seated. Service continues on page 162.
Yismach Moshe b'matnat, Yismach Moshe b'matnat, Yismach Moshe b'matnat, b'matnat chelko. Ki eved neman, ki eved neman, ki eved neman karata lo. Ki eved neman, ki eved neman, ki eved neman karata lo. Yismach Moshe b'matnat, Yismach Moshe b'matnat, Yismach Moshe b'matnat, b'matnat chelko. Khalil tiferet b'rosho natata b'yamdo lefanecha al har Sinai ושני לוחות אבנים הוריד בידו, וכתוב בהם שמירת שבת. ישמח משה במתנת, ישמח משה במתנת, ישמח משה במתנת, במתנת חלקו. וכן כתוב בתורתך, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ולא נתתו אדוני אלוהינו לגויי הארצות, ולא הנחלתו מלכנו לעובדי פסילים, וגם במנוחתו לישכנו ערלים, כי לישראל עמך נתתו באהבה, לזרע יעקב אשר בם בחרת. מקדשי שביעי כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך, והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון, שבת קודשך וינוחו בישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ובתפילתם, והשב את העבודה לדביר ביתך, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ברצון, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון, מודים אנחנו לך.
We're continuing in the middle of 164.
הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך. ועל כולם יתברך יתרומם שמך מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד, וכל החיים יודוך סלע, והללו את שמך באמת, האל ישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך ולך נאה להודות.
165.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, ברכנו בברכה משולשת בתורה, הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך, האמורה מפי אהרון ובניו כהנים, עם קדושך כאמור. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם, שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, אור פניך. שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם, שים שלום טובה וברכה. כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים באהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ברחמים וחיים בשלום שים שלום שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם שים שלום טובה וברכה וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
167.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברה קירותי, וימלך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל סלוטון ובאותהון דכל ישראל קודם אבוהון דבשמיא ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו amen.
We turn back to page 112 for the Psalm for Shabbat.
Picked the wrong
I
one.
know. I'm always tempted to say go back to
I
page
went to
72.
But there's 27 now, I think.
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
No, page 112 for Psalm
It's in
9.
two places.
Oh, or another place.
Yom Yom Shabbat Kodesh. Mizmor Shir. Tzadik Tamar Yifrach Ke'erez Balanon Yizkeh Shetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzro Deloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva Deshenim Berananim Yehu Lehagid Ki Ashar Adonai Tsuri Belo Avatabo.
Eileen will lead the Mourner's Kaddish on page 121. For those who are reciting.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Beautiful. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to yet another new beginning. We're back in Bereshit. We'll be on page 3 in the 8th Chaim. We're here to celebrate the beginning of the Torah on some level of beginning a new cycle after wonderful, rich holidays where we got to be together as community. And we also are here to celebrate Rita Gelman's 59th year as member of this congregation. Her 90th birthday, I will admit her 90th birthday happened several months ago, but we had a backlog of bar and bat mitzvahs and some retirements as well. That tend to happen at the end of a pandemic. And so we're happy though to take this opportunity with this new beginning to celebrate that birthday with Rita. It's so good to see so many friends and many who are joining us by streaming as well to honor her and to honor Chuck, Alav HaShalom. And we're so glad to have your family here, extended family. We look forward to having words from Rita and about Rita coming up later in the service. And Rita will also, as is typical of Rita, because she seems to be very much oriented around ways in which she can serve. I think she'll probably be a little bit uncomfortable hearing words about her because I've never seen her comfortable with it before. I'm hoping today is an exception. But Rita will be reading Torah for us today. And Rita, how many years has it been since you read Torah, or should I not mention that?
37.
It's just 37 years since the last time she read Torah. And so this is a model for, she came through double chai. So it's a model for what are the possibilities for you in the new year. Just because you weren't doing something last year, maybe we reach back, we take on things that we've done before and make them a part of our reality now. The Torah service begins on page 168, and it's my pleasure to call up John to lead it. And you can see on 168, where it says re-rise as the ark is open. So we ask our Torah carriers and our Torah carrier and or unless you're carrying, and which I leave to Bob, and our Torah ark opener to come up in the middle of the page. So they're ready to open up the ark. 168.
In kamocha ve'Elohim Adonai ve'in kama'asecha Mahutecha mahut kol olami u'nemshatecha ve'odor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai hoseamo yiteim Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Amen. Eitzon et Sion Tibnei Omot Yerushalayim Tibnei Omot Yerushalayim
Shato. 170, final paragraph. ולשלם. It has never been easier to tell which Torah we're using. We repeat after John.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai iti, unevrona Shemo Yahdah.
והנצח וההוד, כי כל השמיים ובארץ, כי כל השמיים ובארץ, אדוני המלאך, כי אני נעשה לכל ראש, רומנו, רומנו, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'adon ravlav kadoshu, romenu, romenu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, And we may be seated. We're on page 3 in the, I think we should be on page 1, but it says page 3 in the Eitz Chaim. Don't let that confuse you about which religion we're practicing today. We've taken on a practice since Rosh Hashanah, because when you say you're going to do something on Rosh Hashanah, you should probably do it, which is to consider those who are in 12-step recovery, not outsiders to our community, but teachers within our community. And so I've taken to the practice that before we read from the Torah, we read 1 or 2 thoughts from Finding Recovery and Yourself in Torah, which is by Rabbi Mark Borovitz, who is a conservative rabbi, went to Ziegler, went to the conservative seminary in LA, and is the founder of Beit Teshuvah. As I know it, the first, I don't think it's the only anymore, the first synagogue devoted primarily, if not entirely, to helping those with addictions recover through Torah and community as a synagogue. I've been fortunate enough to daven with them, and it's incredibly inspiring. And so from Bereshit, 2 thoughts for us. So this is for people going through 12-step and studying Torah through the year. How will you engage the Torah more to find new truths about yourself and living well? Bereshit, in the beginning, how will you, in this beginning of the year, engage the Torah more to find new truths about yourself and living well? And what questions do you need to ask yourself this year that are different from those that you asked last year. My honor to call up Manny Kahana for the first reading. Manny, I trust you'll be able to find the spot. It starts with a bet. And you are also our first aliyah, v'yazor v'yagein v'yoshua v'nosam v'nosam amen. Akodinenu, Ya'amod. Menachem Mendel ben Chaim Baruch HaKohen. Ve'Esther Baruch Shanatan Tolei Moshe B'Kedushato V'Atem Hadbekim B'Adonai Elohechem Chayim U'Lechem Hayom. There's no way to roll the Torah to the very, very, very end. So page 3 in the red 8 time.
Bereshit bara Elohim.
Sorry, Aliyah first.
So
No, I know you're used to reading for us, but today
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam
אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Chapter 1, verse 1.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ, והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו וחושך על פני תהום, ורוח אלוהים מרחפת על פני המים. ויאמר אלוהים יהי אור, ויהי אור, וירא אלוהים את האור כי טוב, ויבדל אלוהים בין האור ובין החושך, ויקרא אלוהים לאור יום, ולחושך קרא לילה, ויהי ערב, ויהי בוקר, יום אחד. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen. We're going to call up 2 Kohanim in a row today. Ya'amod, Elon Chaim ben Menachem Mendel HaKohen v'Rivka. La'aliyah ha'sheni. We're continuing with verses 6 through 8 of Genesis chapter 1.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך,
Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. ויאמר אלוהים יהי רקיע בתוך המים, ויהי מבדיל בין מים למים, ויעש אלוהים את הרקיע, ויבדל בין המים אשר מתחת הרקיע, ובין המים אשר מעל הרקיע, ויהי כן, ויקרא אלוהים לרקיע שמיים, ויהי ערב, ויהי בוקר יום שני.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. In Yeshua Koach Manny, we're going to cover the scroll for a moment before Nina comes up. We're going to do our blessing for those who are in need of healing. Please offer names at the appropriate time. You'll understand how if you're not used to the procedure. Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Meg is reading the full list for those that many of us are praying for every day. And I'm going to add now members of the congregation who are asking us to pray for them directly. Mayim Shira Bat Chaya Elisheva, David ben Abba Baruch V'Gloria, Sam Silver, Yehuda Aaron ben Eliezer Vitziporha, Devorah Aviva Bat Yitzchak Esther, Judith Elkin, Azriel Shoshlomit, and Naomi Kaya Bat Shlomit, Shalom Zev ben Moshe, Yefifia Bat Yosef Yehudihi, Meir ben Hillel Bebluma, Yudo Shlama ben Avram Yitzchak Berachel, Chaya Bat Hasna Rocha V'Shmuel David, Asher Menachem Shlomo Isaacs, B.S. וכל החולים בקהילה קדושה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחזיקם רפותם וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף בתוך שאר חולי ישראל, שבתי מלזעוק כפרק רבה לבוא, השתה בעגלה בזמן קריב ונאמר אמן. We wish them all a full recovery in body and spirit and speedily. We continue with the third aliyah. We'll be on verse 9. It's my honor to call up Nina at this time to take her place in the scroll. Correct. And you're also, I'm including you in the aliyah. I'm following Rita's. I'm going to call you up as she wants me to call you up as a mishpacha.
Yeah.
So Nina is the reader. And at this time, it's my honor to call up Steve, Eric. Nina is now up, Rebecca, and also granddaughter Eliana at this time. Ta'amod mishpacha, mishpacha, ashlish, la'aliyah ashlishi. Well, there's another mishpacha, so you have to, we'll see. So we're the third one right now. Sorry. Yeah, touch their seat to the spot.
Third, is this, yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Elohim yikavu hamayim mitachat hashamayim el makom echad v'tira'eh hayavasha vayichein vayikra Elohim leyavasha eretz v'lemikveh hamayim kara yamim vayar Elohim ki tov. Vayomer Elohim, Tache haaretz deshe, Eitzev Masriya zera, Eitz peri, Ose peri lemino, Asher zarovo al haaretz vayichein. Vatotze haaretz deshe, Eitzev Masriya zera leminehu, Ve'etz oseperi, asher zaravo leminehu, vayar Elohim ki tov, vayer vayivoker yom shlishi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yishar Kochachem. Beautiful read. So as you return to Rita, we are at our Rivi'i reading. Meira Miller comes up and takes her spot at the scroll. We're on page 7 of the Chumash, starting with verse 14 of chapter 1. And it's my honor to call up a different mishpacha, Ta'amod, Mishpacha, Ann Arbor,
very beginning.
We call up Susie and Arnie Corin and Prue Rosenthal and Elise Weisbach. Arnie's providing.
תודה רבה.
Baruch hu Adonai Habarach. Baruch Adonai Habarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Vayomer Elohim Yehi Me'orot Dirki Hashamayim Lahavdil Ben Hayom Uven Halayla Vahayu Le'otot Ulemoadim Uliamim Vishanim Vahayu Lim'orot Dirki Hashamayim La'ir Al Haaretz Vayehi Chen Vayas Elohim et shnei hamaorot hagdolim et hamaor hagadol lememshelet hayom et hamaor hakaton lememshelet halayla ve'et hakochavim vayiten otam Elohim dirkiya hashamayim laha'ir al haaretz v'limshol bayom Uvalayla ulahavdil ben haor uven hachoshech vayar Elohim kitov vayhi erev vayhi boker yom revi'i. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Now we call up Mishpacha. No, okay, we're called. Alon takes his place as the reader for Chamishi. It's my honor to call up Rowan Altman at this time. Ta'amod, Reisel Bakolda ve'Eliyahu, li'aliyah ha'chamishi.
Baruch hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. ויאמר אלוהים, ישרצו המים, שרץ נפש חיה, ועוף יעופף על הארץ, על פני רקיע השמיים, ויברא אלוהים את התנינים הגדולים, ואת כל נפש החיה, הרמסת אשר שרצו המים למיניהם, ואת כל עוף כענף למיניהו, וירא אלוהים כי טוב. ויברך אותם אלוהים לאמור פרו ומלאו את המים בימים והעוף ירב בארץ ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום חמישי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yishar Koch. Ryan gets to come around and be next to Jeff as Larry takes over the spot at verse 24. It's my honor to call up Rebecca. There she is. Ta'amod, Rivka, Bad Ruvain V'Leah, Aliyah, HaShishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Page 9.
Amen. Vayomer Elohim say haaretz nefesh chaya lemina behemat beremesh v'cheito haaretz lemina v'cheito eretz lemina vayiken vayas Elohim et chayat haaretz lemina ואת הבהמה למינה ואת כל רמש האדמה למינהו וירא אלוהים כי טוב ויאמר אלוהים נעשה אדם בצלמנו כדמותנו ורדו פתגת הים ובעוף השמיים ובהמה בכל הארץ וכל הרמס הרומסת על הארץ ויברא אלוהים את האדם בצלמו בצלם אלוהים ברא אותו זכר ונקבה ברא אותם ויברך אותם אלוהים ויאמר להם אלוהים פרו מלאו את הארץ וכבשוה ורדו בבקעת הים ובעוף השמיים ובכל חיה הרומסת על הארץ ויאמר אלוהים הנה נתתי לכם את כל עשב זורע זרע אשר על פני כל הארץ ואת כל העץ אשר בו פרי עץ זורע זרע לכם יהיה לאכלה ולכל חיית הארץ ולכל עוף השמיים ולכל רומס על הארץ אשר בו נפש חיה את כל ירק עשב לאכלה ויהי כן וירא אלוהים את כל אשר עשה והנה טוב מאוד ויהי בוקר יום השישי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We invite Rita to come up and take her place at the scroll for the beginning of chapter 2, which can be found on page 11. Larry's going to get your spot and leave it up to Meira whether she wants to be standing by or whether she wants to Rita's friend and tutor. And it's my honor to call up our 7th Aliyah, Monica and Miriam at this time. Yep, Ta'amdun, Malka bat Moshe v'Rachel. Miriam bat David u'Malka, la'aliyah ha'shevi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hanabarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hanabarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayakulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol zevayam. Vayachol Elohim bayom hashvi'i malakto asher asa Vayishbot Bayom Hashvi'i Michal Malakto Asher Asa V'yavorech Elohim Et Yom Hashvi'i V'kadesh Oto Kivo Shabbat Michol Malakto Asher Bara Elohim La'aso.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam atah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We'll close it for a moment for a prayer. Yikada v'yikada shemirava v'yamad divra kirute v'yamlich machute v'chayechonu yom echad u'chayei lechol beit Yisrael v'agava b'zman karib v'yimeru amen yehi shmeira v'levara Yiparach, Yishabach, Yipar Vitramam, Vinase, V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalal, Shmei Kudesha, Le'ela, Mikol Berchata V'shirata, Tushvechata V'nekemata, Damiram B'yama, V'imeru, Tamod, 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 Rachel bat bracha ba'Avraham, Eshet Chayil. Let me not cover up the blessing for you, Rita.
Baruch Adonai HaBarak.
Baruch Adonai HaBarak. Yep.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch
Adonai HaBarak Le'olam Va'ed. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher boker banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
And once again, for the Maftir reading.
Amen. Hashemayim. Wait a minute, am I right?
Yep, right.
Vayikulo Hashemayim v'ha'aretz v'kol seviyam vayikol Elohim vayom hashvi'i malakto asher asa v'yishbot vayom hashvi'i mikol malakto asher asa vayevarech
You got it right 6 times, so you're doing great. We all do that.
Elohim et Yom Hashvi'i Vayikadesh Oto Kivo Shabbat Mikol Malakto Asher Bara Elohim La'aso.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, and now the blessing.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yivarech et Rachel bat bracha be'Avraham she'alta hayom likvod hamakom v'likvod haTorah v'likvod haShabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishmor ota v'kol mishpachta v'yishlach bracha v'atzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadeha im kol Yisrael acheha V'achoteha v'nomar. Amen. May Adonai bless Rita Gelman. She has ascended today to honor God and the Torah and Shabbat, for which she read the Aliyah. May the Holy One bless her and her entire family. Her entire families. Bringing blessing and success to all the works of their hands. Together with all her fellow Jews, let us say, Amen. We'll lift and roll the scroll, and we'll continue with the Haftarah and more words coming up.
Okay.
We go. Ya'amod magbi'ah.
Can I leave and go down this?
Ya'amod magbi'ah v'li'lilah. Zot Torah asher Moshe livnei Yisrael mi'Adonai v'yad Moshe Yitzchak mi'Machazim We may be seated. The Haftarah from the Anonymous Prophet can be found on page 36 of the Eitz Chaim. It's Yeshayahu chapter 42, beginning with verse 5. Alon Kahana is our maftir, and ask him to say a little something before he chants.
So before I start, I'll just mention that 39 years ago, I was a bar mitzvah boy in Israel, and this was my parasha, and I'm wearing the talit that I wore back then, that my grandmother bought for me, and it makes me think of her. And I'm reading the Sephardic version because we were Ashkenaz Nosach Sfarad in that synagogue, and I actually like the framing, even though it is shorter, which is nice, but it frames the word of the prophecy in a way that's very symmetric. It's true, which is nice. So with that,
I'm so glad a Sephardi chose to read this week for the Haftarah. It's significantly shorter, but very well bracketed. I hope you see the introduction can be found in the Eitz Chaim, which will introduce you to some of the connections between the Haftarah and the Torah reading. Whereas darkness before was the primordial darkness out of which good things come, now the darkness is exile for the prophet who is talking to those in exile and is in exile himself, and talking about a darkness out of which we will come in our repair of the world, connecting the light fragments and putting back together a world of light, the world of the temple and of Israel.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו, מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה, אדוני, הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת והצדק. כה אמר אל אדוני, בורא השמיים בנותיהם, רוקע הארץ וצאצאיה, נותן נשמה לעם עליה, ורוח להולכים בה. אני אדוני, קראתיך בצדק, ואחזק בידיך, ואצרך ואתנך לברית עם לאור גויים, לפקוח עיניים עברות, להוציאה ממסגר אסיר, מבית כלא יושבי חושך. אני אדוני הוא שמי וכבודי לאחר לא אתן, ותהילתי לפסילים. הראשונות הנה באו, וחדשות אני מגיד, בטרם צמחנה אשמיע אתכם. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, תהילתו מקצה הארץ. יורדי הים ומלואו, איים ויושביהם. יישאו מדבר וערב, חצרים תשב כדר. ירונו יושבי סלע, מראש הרים יצווחו. ישימו לאדוני כבוד, ותהילתו ואם יגידו, אדוני כיבור יצא, כאיש מלחמות יאיר קנאה. יריע אף יצריח, על אויביו יתגבר. החשיתי מעולם, אחריש את אפק, כיולדה אפעה, אסום ואשאף יחד. אחריב הרים וגבעות, וכל אסבם אוביש, ושמתי נהרות לאיים, ואגמים אוביש. והולכתי עברים, בדרך לא ידעו, בנתיבות לא ידעו, אדריכם אשים, מחשוך לעבור לפניהם לאור, ומעקשים למישור. אלה הדברים עשיתים ולא עזבתים. נסוגו אחור יבוש ובושת, הבוטחים בפסל, האומרים למסכה אתם אלוהינו. החרשים שמעו, והעברים הביטו לראות. מי עיוור כי אם עבדי, וחרש כמלאכי אשלח. מי עיוור כמשולם, ועיוור כעבד אדוני. רעות רבות ולא תשמור, פקוח אוזניים ולא ישמע. אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגיד תורה וידיר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמרים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו, לעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך. במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים לכבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמלוכה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
With John's permission, as we turn to page 176, I'd like to do this prayer today in English. It's a prayer for the congregation, a prayer for those who serve the community, because we're celebrating a family that has built the congregation along with others and has served the community. So I'm going to read the first paragraph, a prayer for the congregation, 176. May heaven bestow deliverance on this holy congregation, the adults, and their children. May kindness, love, and compassion, a long life, abundant provision, and sustenance from heaven, bodily health, and spiritual enlightenment be their lot. May their children thrive, never ceasing to speak words of Torah, nor ever neglecting them. May the sovereign of the universe bless you, accord you a full life, add to your days, and grant you a long life. May you be freed of all distress and difficult circumstance now and always. May the Master in heaven sustain you at all times and seasons. And let us say, amen. And may the one who blessed our ancestors, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless this entire congregation together with all other holy congregations, they and their families and all that's theirs, along with those who devote themselves to establish synagogues for prayer, as well as those who enter them to pray, and those who provide for their maintenance. Wine for Kiddush, Havdalah, food for guests, bread for the hungry, tzedakah for the poor, shelter for the homeless. And is it sacrilege to say the DTE bill, the roof, there are many other things that sustain the ability for us to serve. And all who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of this community and of the land of Israel. May the Holy One reward them, remove sickness from them, heal them, forgive their faults. May God bless them for making their worthy endeavors prosper, as well as those of the entire people Israel, their brothers and sisters. And let us say, amen. On page 180, we have another opportunity to wish for blessing for this new month and this new beginning with the announcement, Mevarachim HaChodesh, of the new month that is about to begin. It's my honor to call up Diane at this time as we rise on page 180 for the announcement of the coming new month.
Yehi ratzon milifanecha, Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imatenu, שתחדש עלינו את החודש הזה, הבא, לטובה ולברכה, ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים, חיים של שלום, חיים של טובה, חיים של ברכה, חיים של פרנסה, חיים של חילוץ עצמות, חיים שאין בהם יראת שמיים ביראת חטא, חיים שאין בהם בושה וכלימה, חיים של עושר וכבוד, חיים שתהיה בנו אהבת תורה ויראת שמיים, חיים שימלאו משאלות לבנו לטובה, אמן סלע. מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו ולאמתינו, וגאל אותם מעבדות לחירות, הוא יגאל אותנו בקרוב, ויקבץ נדחנו מארבע כנפות הארץ. חברים, כל ישראל, ונאמר אמן. ראש חודש מר חשוון יהיה ביום שלישי וביום רביעי הבא עלינו ועל כל ישראל לטובה.
The new month of Cheshvan will begin on Monday night and continue through Tuesday and Wednesday. That will be Rosh Chodesh. May this month hold blessing for us and for all the people Israel.
יחדשהו הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ועל עמו בית ישראל לחיים ולשלום, לששון ולשמחה, לישועה לנחמה, ונאמר amen.
May the Holy One bless the new month for us and for the entire people, the house of Israel, with life and peace, with joy and gladness,
Amen.
with deliverance and with consolation.
Amen.
And we may be seated. We continue with the Ashrei. Page 181. אשרי העם שככה לו, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו. בכל ימי ברכך, ועולה שמך לעולם ועד. גדול שבת מעשיך, וגבורתך יגידו. מזוז תורתך יאמרו, ובנותך אספנה. חנוק רחם אדוני, ערך הפרות תחסד. יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך. להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו, וכבוד אדם מלכותו. סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, זוקף לכל הכפופים. פותח את ידיך ומשפיע לכל חי רצון. צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסי בכל מעשיו. קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת. רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע יושיע. שומר אדוני כל אוהביו, וכל רשעים ישמיע. תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, יברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברכך, מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah. 183.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו.
הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם כהן יעמו. תזכרו חסידיו, לפני ישראל עם קרובו.
מזמור לדוד.
הבו לאדוני בני אלים, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני באהבת כל קודש. כל אדוני, כל אדוני, ואדם, כל אדוני, שובר ארצי, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הבנון.
ויקידם כמו עגל לבנון בציון, כמו בן רעבים.
כל אדוני חוצב לקודש, כל אדוני יחיל מדבר, יחיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחולל ארץ. One 184. We remain standing as we turn back to page 177, and we ask to come to the Bima first Steve Gelman for the prayer for our country, and then Karen Schill for the prayer for Israel in Hebrew, and then Helen Amanoff for the prayer for Israel in English, and then the prayer for peace by Eric Gelman.
Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy, accept our prayer on behalf of the country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land.
Adonai, God whose spirit is in all creatures, we pray that your spirit be awakened within all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot from our hearts hatred and malice, jealousy and strife. Plant love and companionship, peace and friendship among the many peoples and faiths who dwell in our nation. Grant us the knowledge to judge justly, wisdom to act with compassion, the understanding and courage to root out poverty from our land.
May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. 178.
Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo. Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Hagen alecha ba'avdat chasdecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, uslach orcha ve'imatecha, l'reisheha, shirecha ve'yoatzeha, v'tankem be'etzah tova milfanecha, chazek et yedei mignei eretz kodshenu, v'hinchilam Eloheinu Yeshua, v'ateret nitzachon te'atrem, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam Yeshua liyoshveha, v'nomar amen.
Amen. And Karen, that prayer is like Israelis. It's prickly and tongue twister on the outside, but it's all heart and beauty on the inside.
No, there's more on the inside. Thank you.
Oh,
I
God.
have,
You always come prepared.
yes, I try.
I don't know how you read something that
try,
small. Good
I
luck.
try. Whoops.
Oh, I got it.
Okay. Avinu Shabbat stronghold and redeemer of the people of Israel. Bless the state of Israel, the beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend the Holy Land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. And a prayer for peace.
May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world.
Human family will not again go war.
For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion.
Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you.
I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and it shall not be ravaged by war.
Let justice and righteousness flow like a mighty stream. Let God's peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. A word of Torah. And I want you to do it in your head. Struck this year reading the Parsha. What is good in the Parsha? It was Tov, and it was Tov, and it was Tov. There's a lot that is Tov, that is good in the Parsha. The light is good. We're very good. Animals are good. The stars are good. The earth is good. The plants are good. Everything, all the stuff's good. Why does it never say anything about God being good or great or magnificent or awesome? When we think about the way that we think we're supposed to think theologically, most of which seems to come from the Council of Nicaea and the Catholic Church 1700 years ago, and yet fills Americans' heads, including Jews, shouldn't Bereshit say, I don't, from the fount of the Lord's infinite benevolence cometh forth the grass of the ground. You know, where are we getting? And then the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent God, all God, out of God's fount of goodness comes forth this and comes forth that. We get none of it. Absolutely zero. God's just God. What's good? It's all the rest of the things that God creates. I just want you to take 20 seconds because you're really doing half of this Devar Torah. What do you make of that? Just in your head. Why is this Jewish? What does it say about God? What does it say about us? What does it say about creation? What does it say about you? On Kol Nidre, I told you my thesis, which is that my understanding from a lot of studying over a lot of decades of Judaism and philosophy is that Judaism's attitude is that your only freedom is momentary. And it is the most important kind of freedom because it may be not the long length of freedom, but it's the freedom to choose whom you serve. If you're serving someone, some tyrant, something, some idolatry, money, career, whatever it is, and you don't want to be serving that, that's slavery, or you shouldn't be serving that. So true freedom is, let's say in marriage, I'm going to marry this person, and it means that I am now in some ways going to be serving them to help bring out the best of who they are, to comfort them when they're down, to heal them when they're sick, to be with them through thick and thin. And they will do that for me. It's going to be a life of service for as long as we're married. It could be, as I mentioned before, that you decide, I thought I was just going to travel in my retirement, but instead I'm going to move my mother in with me. And I'm going to take care of her, and that'll change my plans, what I can do and how free I am to go travel. And so I'm going to serve them. Or I thought in retirement I was going to write 3 books and travel a lot and go to Italy, but instead I'm actually going to have be near my grandchildren. I'll either move there or I'll invite them to move here, and I'll spend 3 or 4 days a week in Shabbos dinner caring for small children, not something I necessarily expected to do. It could be that the profession you choose. I'm a doctor. I'm going to choose to heal. You serve your patients, right? Not the insurance companies, but you serve your patients. You're a teacher, right? You don't have to be a teacher, right? Your freedom is that you could quit and serve something else or serve another. You're absolutely free to do that. But your choice, don't pretend you're a slave. If you're choosing to be a teacher, then you serve with holiness. So the freedom is to serve by also serving God at the same time. And so how do you do that? I didn't talk a lot in the sermon about that, but I think it's obvious. I tried to allude to it. You don't serve as the sense of service, avodah in Hebrew, which could also mean like it's a burden and it's a drudgery. It stinks being a teacher. It stinks taking care of grandkids. It stinks doing childcare. It stinks doing this. Serving with holiness means you got to get rid of all of that. Yeah, it's hard. We know. If you dwell on it, then you are making yourself a slave. The parsha says you should serve the earth. But do you make yourself Cain, who says serving the earth is just stinks? I can't stand it. It's drudgery. Or do you serve the earth in a different way by bringing holiness? And one way to think about this is in the quality of how you serve. When I'm with my grandkids, instead of saying, I can't believe I would be doing this at the age of 80, changing diapers or, trying to figure out how to use a nosofrida to suck out mucus and phlegm from their nose and suck it into my mouth. But anyway, there's a sponge in between and the filter gets it. The first time you use it is terrifying. I made my kids' noses bleed, but I figured it out by the second time. I sucked a little too hard, but I'm an overachiever. But you're sitting there thinking like, what am I doing? And the answer is, I'm going to do this really well. I'm going to be a wonderful grandparent. Or I'm going to it is not drudgery to care for a parent who needs help or a grandparent. It's an honor. It's an absolute honor. It is an honor to be a teacher. It is an honor to be a healer. It is an honor even in business to serve clients. If you serve with holiness, meaning, how can I serve my client in this interaction? It doesn't mean, as my brother always says, that you make yourself a shmata, right? You're allowed to have boundaries and you're allowed to have good, but it's the approach. Do I do it well? Do I make it good? And that's what I see in the Parsha today. The holiness is God's. It's not because God is great, mighty, and awesome, and all benevolent, all these things, which some of the rabbis of the Talmud did, but I don't believe most thought God was omniscient because that would take away free will. God certainly is not all powerful because God created others with free will that limits God's power. There are all kinds of things that don't fit in the early Catholic Church model. But God decided, I'm going to make space for something other than me. And the way God is serving. God is serving us. God is serving nature. God serves the world. By making sure each piece is really beautiful and good. And that's what we're trying to do in our lives when we are serving. That's the difference. Make it good. I was struck by reading an article about corporate consulting after the pandemic, because many corporations have struggled. Do you bring back workers in person? Do you let them work remotely? How do you solve all these things? And they said the biggest issue they have is a confusion within the company. They're trying to help companies manage that. Some employees believe that what a job is you have your tasks, and if you do the tasks, then you've done your job. And some other people in the company, sometimes people who are older, think that it's not that you did your task like you checked it off, it's that you did it well in a way that really serves our people, serves our clients, serves our patients, serves our students, that really, really, really serves people. And they're wondering if maybe there's something that's gone on in education a little bit more of, participation is rewarded. You did something. It's not that you had to do it super well, because we don't want to compare one person to another. They're not sure exactly where it's come from, but a sense that, is it that you did it, or is that you did it really well? And when you did it really well, did it serve others? My wife, who was in the school district in Nevada for 16 years, says her hardest principal told her over and over again to the staff, what is best for you, staff, is not always what's best for our students. And we're here to do what's best for our students. God is doing what's best for us. That's why I think it says, not that God is good, but what God did was he made they made everything good. May we learn how to serve as God models it in the beginning of Bereshit. When we know to whom we serve and we make those choices, let us not do it without complaint. Let's not do it with self-aggrandizement. We're no heroes. Let us do it through service and making that service beautiful in a way it serves the people that we've chosen to be in service to. Shabbat Shalom. Wanted to end the Dvar Torah there. And I'm going to share, as rabbi controlling the bima, I get to figure out when I talk about Rita. And so Rita, I'm moving myself from the end to now. I want the prime spot, self-aggrandizement. I still reserve the right to say a blessing for you at the end. To me, a person who has not known Rita as long as others, she is someone who, like God in the Parsha, makes herself smaller to make room for others. I've never heard, I know she's uncomfortable, I said it earlier, she doesn't want to be called charitable. She doesn't want to be called good. She doesn't want attention on herself, just like God doesn't call attention to God's self in this parsha. She does have a very strong sense of service. And when she does something, whether it's a work of art, whether it is an educational initiative here at Beth Israel, whether it was in concert with Chuck, the design of our Mishkan, the design of our tabernacle, how it should be, she's very, very thoughtful about how it should be good. And she is always like, she doesn't take any credit for herself in that regard. She really does have this tzimtzum of God in the parsha. Roanne and I were talking about it. It was the first thing that came to both of our minds when we thought of, at least in a conversation we had several weeks ago. God had to make God's self smaller so everything else could be good. That's the quality I see in Rita constantly, making herself smaller so that the things that happen around her are beautiful and good, and with a dedication to that quality and that service of others. We're going to continue the service with Musaf, and then it's my honor to invite other people to speak, very likely better than I have. I'm looking forward to it. Musaf is on page 184, and I call Beth Dwoskin up to lead those closing additional prayers of the service. Please rise, 184. Amen.
Yamati Rakirate Yamlith Malchute Befayefo Yomefo Uchayel Kol Beit Yisrael Bagala Wisman Karim V'Yemeru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevora V'Alam Alal Me'al Maya Yitzvara Itbarak v'ishtabak v'ip'ar v'itramam v'itnasei V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemet kudsha La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata ushbechata v'nechemata amir amelma v'yamiru
185.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi Goel Livnei V'Neicham L'man Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer Fokedu Moshiach Magin Baruch Atah Adonai Magin Avraham Upoked Zara Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Melchayei Metim Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem Mechalkel Chaim V'Chesed Mechayei Meitim Berachamim Rabim Samech Noflim Verofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Givuro Umito Melech Melech Meimit Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lecha chayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim
187.
Naritzecha v'nakdishcha kesotzia tzarfei kodesh hamakdishim shimcha b'kodesh hakatuv ayad riacha v'kara ze'el zeriah amar kadosh 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 Adonai Tzvaot Melo kol haaretz kevodo. Kevodo malei olam, asher tav sholim zeh zeh, ayei mekom kevodo, lumatam baruch yomeru, baruch Adonai bimkom. Mimkomo yifan barachamim, yichon am hamechadim shemo, erev avoker b'chol yom tamid, pamayim yahava shemo omrim, Israel. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu, Verachamav Shenit, Shenit Le'enei Kol Chai, Le'ord Lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, V'divrei Kachaka Katuv Le'mor, Adonai Le'olam, V'hayach Zion, L'dor V'dor, Hallelujah. L'dor V'dor, L'dor V'dor, L'dor V'dor, Nagid God Lecha, L'dor V'dor, L'dor V'dor, L'dor V'dor, Nagid God Lecha, U'lenetzach netzachim, Kedushat Chakaktish, Kedushat Chanaktish, V'shivchecha Eloheinu, Mipinu lo yamush, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
188 and forward in silence. Language of your choice or your own personal prayers.
Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Aha, Mekadshe Shvi Shabbat, Kulam Yispehu, V'yatanegu mituvecha Shabbat, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat, V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, Chemdat yamim otokrata, Zecher l'maseh Bereshit Shabbat, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Korei oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Korei oneg Shabbat. Yikadav yikadav shemei rabah, v'yalmad divra kirutei, v'yamlich malkutei, v'chayachonu, v'yomechonu, v'chayed kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'yimeru. Yehei shmei rabah mevorach, le'alam olam le'almaya, yitbarach, Yiparach v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitala shemei dekudishah. Le'el min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'yimeru. Yitkabel tzlot kon avot kon d'chol Yisrael kadam avochon v'yishmaya v'yimeru. Yehei shlam arama min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Oseh shalom b'imramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen.
204.
And
Carolina.
לשבח לאדון הכל, פלוטי גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו משפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו בכל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושבים קרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום והשיבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, חיה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We may be seated except for those who are reciting the Mourner's Kaddish with me on page 207. On this Shabbat, Beth Israel congregation remembers the Yortzites of, among others, Henry Apt, Ivan Ball, Jeanette Bash, David Benson, William Berry Sr., Howard Brickman, Frank Cohen, Jack Cohen, Kathy Emmerich, Hazel Helen Gelman, Samuel Gordon, Bruce Hearn, Rachel Jacobs, Vera Jugaskaya, Jenny Hirsch Kaufman, Benjamin Kleiman, Eva Lansky, Jay Lessing, Nettie Moshevitz, Evelyn Olenek, Louis Panish, Lila Pollins, Leonard Reba, Isadora Binovitz, Rivka Rosenthal, Peggy Ross, Sarah Sandfield, Marion Scheiman, Richard Serwin, Jack Siscone, Max Sussman, Charlotte Walker, Pearl Weingarten, and Isadore Winkleman. As we continue to say Kaddish for Lorraine Sherman, Michael Adams, Leona Leon, Phyllis Werbel, Vanchin Lessing, Carol Feinerman, David Fallman, Bruce Dahl, Carol Amster, Gary Joseph Ullman, Paul Ernest Phillips, Leslie Garber Matthews, Raisa Levinskaya, Alice Coben, Toby Barbin Rothaus, Vivian Perlstein, Marty Lindenauer, Bonnie Rosenberg, Harlene Ampelman, Dr. Lionel Finkelstein, Sidel Popinski, David Stein, Harvey Katz, and now, just now, Martin Warshaw. For those who are saying the Mourner's Kaddish, we're on 207. If the family is comfortable doing so, we've lit the light for Chuck Gelman, and I would think that this is an appropriate day to share in the Kaddish according to what you prefer your custom to be. But I do invite you to say Kaddish for Chuck today. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divrat kirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru. Yehe shmei Rabbah v'varach olam olamei omaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah v'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'alko Yisrael v'imru amen. Oses shalom b'mrama huyaseh shalom aleinu v'alko Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories continue to bring blessings to this world. A few announcements we begin with Steve Rubenstein, Executive Vice President of the congregation.
Thanks, Reverend Dov. First of all, Mazel Tov, Rita, on your 90th year. It is in your 59 years of membership here at Beth Israel. Everyone is welcome to join us at a Kiddush honoring Rita after this. That's been sponsored by the Gelman family. So thank you all and congratulations again. Just a reminder, our membership 22-23 forms, religious school registration, and Lev Shalem book dedications are available on our website. Please contact the office if you have any difficulties in finding those forms and any needs that you have. Additionally, if you'd like to schedule a meeting with Rabbi Nadav, please drop an email to crabbi@bethisrael.aa-aa.org, and Sam will be happy to help you get those meetings scheduled. A few quick announcements. First off, you should check in the lobby. There's more information out there. Lovely forms to look at if you take them with you or just to read them here. So on Monday night, we'll have a Talmud study with Rabbi Daberson. All are invited for this Talmud study class. You're not required to be able to read in Hebrew, Aramaic, but we'll be studying in those languages as well as English translations. And it's a great time to start because we're beginning a new section. No, we're not beginning a new section. We're continuing a section that we've been studying. So thank you, Rabbi Daberson. On this Friday, we're having an evening service featuring the author Yelena Lembersky. Yelena Lembersky returns to Beth Israel. She's going to be talking about her new memoir called Like a Drop of Ink in a Downpour, which she co-authored with her mother, Galina. This book is a prequel to arrival as a refugee to Ann Arbor in 1987. So it's this Friday at 5:30. We'll actually start with hors d'oeuvres. The service is at 6. And then we expect Elena to speaking at about 6:30 on Friday, the 28th. And this coming Shabbat on the 29th will be Serenity Shabbat. Serenity Shabbat is hosted by various congregations, focuses on addiction awareness and the wisdom of Jewish tradition as it relates to the spiritual practice of recovery. Everyone is welcome, including members of the recovery community, friends and family who have been affected by loved ones' addictions, and anyone interested in this unique spiritual experience. Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov.
It is my enormous honor to invite up Stephen, Eric, and Nina and Rebecca at this time back to the Beth Israel Bima.
Well, it's been 51 years since my bar mitzvah. It's wonderful to be back. Some things have changed. The trees are more mature. Helen Amanoff's hair is a little lighter than it was when I was here. And the harmony, who's singing the harmony over here? That was absolutely incredible. Well, stand up. That was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So there was a concern that the four of us would overlap and talk about my mom's swimming and charity. So I'm going to devote my 3 minutes to Gregor Mendel's experiments with the inherited traits of pea plants. And so I have, since this is such an educated group, I have a pop quiz. And the Harvard professors of surgery are disqualified. So would anyone like to explain Gregor Mendel's experiment with peas? I see there's 3 younger ladies. Do you? Yeah, exactly. And so he found that if you had a red flower and a white flower, that you didn't get a pink flower, that you get either a red flower or white flower, and sometimes it would skip generations, and this was called a recessive gene. And so as it relates to our family, Rita's mother was a valedictorian of her class, which is when you consider that was over 100 years ago. That was pretty amazing. She was also a trendsetter in that she was a single mother long before it became popular. And she ran a laundromat. to support the family. And one of my greatest memories is going down in her basement, and the table is full of coins, and I got to put them all in tubes. It was one of the best vacations I ever had. And anyway, Rita followed in her mother's genetics and is an A student and got at 50 years of age, got a master in social work at the University of Michigan. But the perfectionism of Rita, it turned out to be a recessive trait. Because I'm a B student, and while I'm not lazy, I have taken every shortcut possible. And so now that I'm a father, and the sermon was incredible, because I'm the second oldest profession as a Jewish landlord, and so I try to serve my clients with respect and not be a slave. And I mean, it was really incredible. Thank you. So anyway, now that I'm a father, I've schooled my two daughters on the path to success and happiness is to take it easy and relax and remain completely anonymous. And my two girls have completely ignored my advice. They've gotten, and this is where the recessive gene has skipped generations. And my girls have gotten A's in school, and they've been wasting time and energy becoming president of the student council and serving on a state government environmental sustainability advisory board. So I'm horrified by their industrious behavior. And I blame it on the recessive gene from Rita that caused my kids to get up at 6:30 in the morning, go to school, and then go to dance classes and not come home for dinner until 8:30 at night. But anyway, in all seriousness, the one gift I did inherit from Rita was a intellectual curiosity. And my mom is one of the most curious people that I've ever met. She's always conducting self-guided urban anthropology classes when she comes to visit us in Denver. So I'm very grateful to have Rita as a mother, and we're all very proud of Rita and thankful that for all the congregation coming here to honor her. Thank you very much.
That's a tough act to follow. So today is the book of Rita, and to do it in 90 seconds, 2 minutes or less is very tough. What I'm going to focus on is Rita's philanthropy and charity, rather than the person that she is and all the other aspects, which my sisters, I'm sure, will focus on. We had dinner with Rita's Mishpacha family, and Prue and Elise, I think, were either co-conspirators or advocates of this day happening. This is the first and only time my mother has allowed herself to be honored in a public forum. And in her usual humble fashion, she told us, "You don't need to come. We don't need to be here. Please don't come. I just saw you in August for my 90th birthday. It's not necessary." It's absolutely necessary to honor and to recognize her and my father's philanthropy and her as a person. Prue said she had a selfish motive in organizing this, that she wanted Rita to be an example for the next generation, the younger generation. For that, I'm grateful, because that'll probably be the last time in my life I'll be referred to as the younger generation. But in my last few minutes, taking that as my task, what can we learn from Rita and my father's philanthropy? Number one, they gave where causes were passionate. They were passionate about it. It meant something to them. One of the causes was the school of public health. Rita was quoted as saying in an article they wrote, "Hopefully this will make a difference." And I think that sums up her and my parents' philosophy on charitable giving, that hopefully it will make a difference. Sometimes they planted seeds, sometimes they planted bushes, sometimes they planted young trees, but they had the vision to know where to plant, what fields needed the trees to grow up to provide the shade for future generations. And I won't talk about case studies of all the different areas they've given, but they have had the vision and the forethought in life, going way back 50 years with this temple, to recognize a need, recognize a void, and plant those seeds and bushes where they were needed, not then necessarily, not 10 years, but for the future and future generations. I grew up at the temple in Hillel on Hill Street. That's my memory of Beth Israel. But one of the honorariums is that they did give some seed money to allow this temple to happen. And it was land they owned on Packard Street. Just to say briefly, they're not investors. They've never owned land, buildings, real estate in their lives. I don't even really know the story of how that ownership in the Packard property came to be. But I do know that probably the temple never even solicited the offer of the proceeds for their land, but they saw the need and they gave it willingly. And that has provided partly, I'm sure there were others, for this temple to be. So in brief, I'm sure it's myself, we all say thank you for your philanthropy, for the seeds and the bushes and trees you have planted, and for the person you are.
Good Shabbos, everyone. So we're going in birth order. Steve, Eric, and Nina Gelman Gans. I had pride in my family name, so I kept it as I got married. I took an image of Rita to kick off my tribute to her. You'll recognize Rosie the Riveter here. We can do it. And that's Rita. Everyone has a personal Torah. Rita's is immersed in the study of Musar, a transformative study of character traits. She brought me into it, and early in our studies, you said, what would Musar say? Presented with a sticky situation, I pause, wait for release, and allow for higher forces to guide me. I'm grateful for this shared wisdom that helps me daily. So what about Rita's personal Torah? Going to Jewish tradition, I'm going to call on Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, our Rosie the Riveter. This is my modern adaptation. Some phrases are taken directly, some are riffed for Rita. A capable wife, mom, friend, motivational speaker, who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. So much more precious, on her 65th birthday, Dad bought her a bike and a new travel bag to traverse the globe another 1,000,000 miles. Chuck expressing aspirations to be able to keep up with her. She has the trust of all around her. With a soft word and a kind action, she looks out for those unseen and unheard, showing her deep value for their part in her life. She seeks all materials, turning them into gold, painting, collage, bottle decollage, upcycling, anything. She creates masterpieces with any and all ingredients, and scraps and ends into treasures and baked delights too. I'm sure a few of you, you've enjoyed those. She rises while it is still night. Actually, she's the ultimate Energizer bunny, up at all hours with tasks to still accomplish and thoughts to compile, often for the good of community. She provides food for her household and friends and neighbors and front desk workers, and the list continues, opening her hands to those lagging in stamina or in need of encouragement. She girds herself with strength and finds ever new activities to increase her stamina. She's not afraid of rain or snow or cold or nighttime impediments. She can do it all. She doesn't say no. She hand knits coverings, newborn baby hats, scarves, baby blankets, and more, using a rainbow of colors and a full spectrum of love for others. Her husband has been known in the city gates, and we are so fortunate to applaud Rita and Chuck's foresight for the benefit of the current community here. Strength and dignity are her clothing. Her laughter is infectious, especially after 11 p.m. She opens her mouth with wisdom, measured words that penetrate deeply with discernment and a pure heart. She looks to the ways of her household, encouraging us siblings to get together, gathering her grandchildren, remembering Chuck's deeply rooted desire to honor and support family. Many women have done excellently. Rita, you surpass all expectations. Let her works praise her as we celebrate so many decades of giving, action, kindness, good humor, and goodwill without fanfare. Rita, we applaud your vigor of 90 cycles around the Torah. May we all enjoy this until 120. I'm Rebecca Gelman. I kept my last name also. And I just wanted to thank the congregation, Rav Nadav and Rabbi Daverson and Mirav, who tutored my mom, and for making this opening for us to have this great honor for my mom. And I just wanted to share with you a couple lessons that I've learned from Rita that we can all learn from. And I've learned these as I watch her in my life. One is be humble. Mom hates being the center of attention or showing off. I've taken down many a Facebook post after I have complimented her too much. She'll call me and say, take it down, in anger. And I take it down quickly for fear of my life. But we can all learn. She says it's too much. So, but we can all learn to leave room for others, to let others shine, and to give more and to give compliments more often. The second rule is be kind. Rita has never an unkind word for people or about people. If you do get a talking to, it's because you earned it. Embrace your Judaism. My mom has leaned into learning, despite not being sent to Hebrew school. She had an adult bat mitzvah at the age of 63. She learned and relearned trope, took Hebrew conversation classes, and has a passion for learning Musar, to which she has been quite dedicated to for years. During COVID, she busied herself with back-to-back Zoom calls and seminars. Number 3, take a load off. You can see my mom since her very young years. She would lie down on the floor and put her feet up on the wall. I highly suggest it. It is definitely the secret to a long life. Giggle often. Do not take yourself seriously. My mom finds humor in many things, and I love when I talk to her on the phone and she will giggle about a certain story that she has to tell me. Number 6, employ hesed, grace, benevolence, and compassion. She has acted to make this community a better place. She visits the sick, cares for the poor, and there are way too many examples of how my mom has done that every day. Number 7, give tzedakah. Give both of your time and your money. Mom and dad of blessed memory always rush to do good. And my siblings have talked about it through their numerous passions. Sometimes it was serendipitous how they came upon their causes, like discovering the power of good when they were in Theresian concentration camp. Number 8, open your home. When we were younger, our house used to be transformed into a shipping and receiving area for the Washtenaw Jewish News. There would be people everywhere and tables everywhere, and we would apply labels the old-fashioned way and stamps the old-fashioned way. Just the same when she was the president of Hadassah, she would be on the phone for hours and hours when I came home from school. And we used to do the locks box, which some of you may not know because you're not old timers like we are, but also our house would be transformed and we would send bagels and lox and cream cheese all over Ann Arbor, like hundreds of these. It was a great fundraiser. Also in Thanksgiving and during the holidays, we would open up our home and we would give anybody a seat, a student, anybody who wanted to come eat. Our home was always welcoming. And my Aunt Barbie and my Aunt Molly will also speak about how our home was always very welcoming for a place to feel accepted and a warm meal. Rule number 9 is don't waste your life. My mom has a very strict schedule. Sometimes I'll call her and she will say, I have not accomplished anything today. And then she'll tell me she did musar and she did art and she did physical therapy. And I think, well, if I could accomplish that in a day, I would be very happy. So when she comes to New Jersey and she visits often, she often comes and does art projects. And when I come visit here, she will have a project for me to do before I leave. Number 10 is never give up, which was also my dad's motto. But my mom also puts this into action. She works on things like art and she might be frustrated, but she keeps at it and keeps at it. The same with her yoga. So it's really a good lesson for all of us who are younger, or even the youngest people in the room, is to try to avoid ever saying, I'm too old. And she's an amazing role model in that way. As my brother said, she got her MSW when she was 50. She started master swimming when she was 73, and then has gone to nationals and won medals, golds and silvers, that she was just dripping in medals. She biked across Michigan through her early 80s until she had to hang up her bicycle. She went during Palm across bicycle across Michigan. She camped out and taught yoga after the bike ride during the day. And then recently we went to Minnesota for a reunion with all of my siblings, their families, and the grandchildren. And my son was down at the beach and he was on a jet ski. And my mom made it very clear that she wanted to join my son on the jet ski. And we were all like, I think she wants to join you on the jet ski. Yes, she does. So she came down, hopped on the back of the jet ski, and off she went. This was just a couple months ago. Lesson number 10, stop your whining. Throughout my life, my mom has never complained. She carried a very busy household, 4 kids with the span of 9 years, with 8 different sports going everywhere. And I never once heard her ever complain or ever say that anything was ever hard. And I really try to keep that in mind when I'm raising just 2 kids. So hopefully you've learned a bit from these 11 core lessons, which are based, and you can make note of them and use them in your life, which are basically be humble and kind, embrace your Judaism, take a load off, giggle, provide chesed, give tzedakah, don't waste your life, never give up, and stop your whining. If we can do all of this every day, we will make an indelible mark on the world.
To provide a little different dimension, I call up Susie Corin, former 2-term president of the congregation, and of course, part of the Ann Arbor Mishpacha.
Shabbat Shalom, good morning. This is going to be a little redundant coming after the family, especially since Eric sort of stepped on my toes a little there. Rita had asked me to share with you some of the story of the bond between the Gelman family and Beth Israel congregation. But let me preface this by saying that when the idea for this celebration was first presented by Prue Rosenthal, it took Rita a while to agree. But on reflection and with coaxing from our family of neighbors, Rita gave in. You see, it was not in the Gelman's nature, as has been told, to be lauded for their actions. And Rita and Chuck preferred to make a difference in their quiet way. But what a wonderful opportunity this is for us to remember the past, celebrate the present, and plant seeds for future growth. In reviewing the history of our current home here at 2000 Washtenaw, I was able to partially resurrect the team, and they are here today, who made it happen. Helen Amanoff, Monica Steingart for Eduardo, Arthur Gershowitz for Henry. Sadly, there was no one I could contact for Victor Gallatin, who seemed to make needed funds appear out of the blue, but this was back in the 1970s. Interestingly, there was one thread that ran through all their recollections. It was the Gelman's donation of land to Beth Israel, sold for cash to be used for our synagogue building. This is what made it all happen. Rita shared that Chuck had had a vision of an active Jewish campus on the site of the infamous Packard Triangle. But the location of the land was too far from the center of town for this dream to be viable. And Chuck understood that this was important to help grow the community. Helen was describing to me, and I think it was Saul Hyman's, people from way back, that Beth Israel owned part of that land, and you'll correct me, I know, at the Triangle. Chuck added on to the parcel to make it large enough to be sold. And with that cash, he turned it over to Beth Israel to have the foundation, Monica said, to get the building going for where we are here on Washtenaw. Close enough? Okay. When I spoke to our former Rabbi Alan Kensky, he echoed all the sentiments previously expressed and spoke of Rita and Chuck Gelman as modest people with a zest for life and a strong devotion to family. You can see that today with these 4 super duper kids, adults, but you're always kids to us. As people who made a difference in a quiet way and who are, again from Alan, one of the people and with the people. He felt it exceedingly appropriate that this celebration was being held on Shabbat Bereshit, as they were part of so many beginnings, including the establishment of the Ann Arbor JCC and the Washtenaw Jewish News. In closing, I'm plagiarizing words that Chuck used when he celebrated Rita on her 65th birthday. Quote, I must say, I have a hard time keeping up with her. I think it will become even more difficult as she speeds down the roadway of life. She's indefatigable. She worries about our world and does what she can to make a difference. She's still swimming laps and mowing people out of her way as she walks downtown Ann Arbor with her walking sticks in hand. She is a wonderful 90 years young. What an honor to be asked to say a few words and to thank Rita and Chuck Gelman for including us in their vision.
It's my honor to ask Roanne Altman to come up to speak, and I've asked Roanne to weave in a little bit of Torah.
Thank you, Rav Nadav. Shabbat Shalom. And welcome to all those joining via Zoom from near and far. We read this week in Bereshit of the creation of the world. Created on the 6th day in the image of God, humans were given free will and the opportunity to use reasoning to guide their actions in the world. From what we have heard, Rita and her beloved husband, Chuck, Zichrono Livracha, took every opportunity to be of service to others. I missed the earlier part of their lives when they were working and raising this wonderful family of 4 children. I missed witnessing all the good they undertook for the community. Yet signs were everywhere, plaques, stones with their names at Beth Israel and the JCC, a room at the Y, tributes at the Jewish Film Festival, and more. What I first noticed about Rita some 20 years ago was her quiet, unassuming manner. She seemed to always be busy doing something, and everyone seemed to know her. We first connected at the Rosh Chodesh group started by Susie Eyre, where she was busy knitting for others. She was filled for compassion for those less fortunate, cooking for the homeless and the ill. She worked with Interfaith Hospitality Network and Alpha House and many other places. Bringing the power of good to the US became the impetus for the Jewish Film Festival, now ongoing for 25 years. But she never talked about these accomplishments. She just did them. I also marveled at how eager Rita was to challenge herself to do her best in every activity she undertook. Again, only in the last 20 years since I've known her, she's been involved with yoga, Feldenkrais, week-long bike rides, competitive swimming, and now art. Amazing. Some 15 years ago, Rita, with her usual zeal, decided that her next frontier would be spirituality. She enrolled in all the Musar courses offered at Beth Israel and began to attend the annual Musar retreat. When the pandemic hit, she continued studying online with the Musar Institute, meeting regularly with her Florida-based study partner. Dr. Alan Marinas, the person responsible for reintroducing Musar wisdom to this generation, has always said that he's not here to teach us anything new or anything we don't already know. He's just bringing to the fore what we already know deep down and getting us to see how we can pull back the veil that might be keeping us from being our best selves. Rita did not need to study Musar. She was already doing exactly what is expected of us. She was walking in God's ways, performing acts of loving kindness, being compassionate and generous, and honoring others. The learning resonated with her. She did everything with enthusiasm, another strong midah or soul trait for her. And then there's her humility, just doing all she does from a quiet place within, not so much of doing, but just being Rita, giving, compassionate, honoring others. More recently, Rita has branched out even further in the spiritual world with an in-depth study of meditation and the practice of joy. And what a great joy it is for us all to be here honoring Rita, someone who has bestowed so much honor on others. Thank you, Rita.
Now it's my honor to invite up Rabbi Daberson.
Thank you, and what an honor it is. Rita, you have been such an inspiration for all of us, and you continue to be such an inspiration with your energy, with your intellectual curiosity, whether it's Musar or Talmud class, whatever it may be. We are so inspired by your continued energy and your continued strength, and we wish you a May of Esrim to 120, continued strength. I know that when we talked the other day on the phone, you said that you wanted me to make a couple of comments, and I will, about the work that you and Chuck, particularly Zichrono Livracha, did. And there's been a phrase that's been mentioned a couple of times here, and some people may not know the context of that phrase. And that phrase is the power of good. And in our last congregation trip to Israel in 2009, when you were able to, you and Chuck and two of your granddaughters were able to be with us, the last thing that we did, the last place that we visited, and honestly, I don't remember, I think it was in Haifa, but it might, God, I don't remember, by the end of a 2-week trip to Israel, who knows where we were, we had the opportunity to meet a very special individual. And that was one of the 669, I believe, is the number of children who was saved by Nicholas Winton children from Prague who were saved from death in the Holocaust. And we were able to meet one of those people. And the Gelman Foundation and Chuck Zichrono Livracha and Rita made sure that that story was told in a video called The Power of Good, which if you haven't seen, you should. But I think that phrase, the power of good, really is the story of the work that you've done, because it's the power to do good, not to talk about it. It's been said many times, and I know that when I looked back at the words that I said at the memorial service for Chuck 4 years ago, excuse me, I know that I quoted Pirkei Avot, Emor ma'at ve'aseh rav. Do speak little and do a lot. And that's really what Chuck, Zichrono Livracha, and Rita are about. It's not about the talking about it. It's not about the fame that comes from it. It's about doing good and showing the power of good, whether it's here at Beth Israel, whether it's through the Jewish Community Center, the Jewish Family Services, whether it's in the community at large, wherever it is. It's the good that's done that's important, not the words. And so many tributes today, and they're all fitting. But I think the greatest tribute to Rita and Lahavdil to Chuck is to recognize in your lives the power of doing good. And so go do it. Don't talk about it. Rita, love from all of us. And may you continue to go from strength to strength.
Rita, for those who are humble like you and contract themselves to make space for others, we still learn in Judaism that in that space that they've made, their presence continues and gently guides us. And that is true of your presence. I know that you don't like attention called to yourself, but it is a gift to us to allow us to praise you and to tell you how much we love you. Would you please come up and share whatever words are in your heart to share? Because thank you for letting us to share ours.
Friends, family, Beth Israel, there's nothing more I can say. It has already been said, and I have these notes to prove it. My notes talked about Musser. My notes talked about, well, the other thing that isn't been said, it is, and I can't begin to thank, first and foremost, Dayenu. Everything, it would have been enough if, and I can go through this whole morning and say, that would have been enough, and that would have been enough. And then there was more. So I really don't know what to say, except with great gratitude in so many ways. I think most people know that, or I'll share with you, that in January, the stenosis, the narrowing of my aortic valve necessitated a new one. And I have a new one. And I'm happy to have a new one because it's keeping me where I am and where with all of you. So the other part of this is that I want to find where is God? And it's said in the prayer book today, well, where is God? God is, and the answer was, well, God is in the heavens, and God is in the heavens. And then the next line said, God is where you find it. Will you let him in? And so that's my task now, is to let God in and do the best I can. And I know that you join me because it all is possible, because there's the environment
to do everything that's good or helpful. But truly, I don't believe everything I've heard. And I don't believe that it's about me, but I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Please rise.
Just looking around.
Let's do the last line of Adon Olam. Biyado avti rufi be'eti shan bi'aira. Let's finish strong. Geviati Adonai li velo ira. Shabbat shalom. Let's go make Kiddush. Thank you for doing it. Enjoy.
I'm Rita Brown. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Daryl.